Hello, and welcome to the Dense Muffin. My name is Thaddeus, and if you're new to the show, allow me to explain what the Dense Muffin is. This podcast is about good conversation with a new guest every show as we dive into the questions that all Christians ponder on in their faith, while glorifying God in the process. Please take note that myself and my guests are not experts on any topic, but are fascinated by conversations about Christianity and the nature of God. So thank you for listening today, and enjoy the episode. Welcome back, and thank you so much for choosing the Dense Muffin today. This episode is the beginning of a new series within the Dense Muffin called Beings of the Bible and What About Them. Today I am joined by my guest, Josh, who is a good friend of mine, and I'm excited to talk with you, Josh. Thanks for being here.
I'm excited to be here. I was looking forward to this since you invited me.
Yeah.
Well,
Josh, I know that I have a feeling that this series is going to be you and I talking about the creatures and beings of the Bible. So I feel like every now and then Josh is going to come back and we're going to just talk about a different being in the Bible.
Sounds cool.
Which brings me to the topic of this first episode of the series. It is all about the Nephilim, which are mentioned in Genesis 6 and other times in the Bible, which we'll probably get into later on. The
Nephilim, giants, aka giants.
Yeah, aka the giants.
Yeah.
Or as it says in Genesis 6, the mighty men who were of old.
Yeah, the mighty men who are
the men of renown.
Which, I mean, one person that we know for sure that the Bible talks about was one of them was it Nimrod, king of Babylon?
Yeah.
And crazy stuff.
It's interesting though. Like, there are many theories on like what the Nephilim were. Like, a lot of different. This is like the debate of it. Is that were Nephilim like half angel, half human, or were they actually just like the ancient kings of the Bible? Like, were Nephilim because they're praised to be gods in their time? Like, were they? Is that what they're talking about in the Nephilim? But we're gonna like mainly dive deep into like Genesis 6. Josh, do you wanna read Genesis 6 1 through?
Yeah. Just clarification. I got the NIV. Start. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he even made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord."
Yeah. That's a heavy like few verses.
Well, the way I kind of like, I don't know expert. I just want to clarify that.
Oh yeah, no, everybody knows we're not experts on this topic.
No,
we just did some research last week.
Literally
a week ago. So
I was refreshing like yesterday, but
bear with us.
One of the things that I kind of noticed was, I mean, if you think about it, God kind of had to do something. If Noah's family was Noah's family the only family that was still following God and wasn't corrupted?
Ooh, yeah.
Is it like, I have to step in now so that way this lineage doesn't get corrupted or tainted?
That's a good point. I was just thinking about that because in the previous chapter it goes through the lineage and like the genealogy of Noah, or the genealogy leading up to Noah, and then Shem, Ham, and Japheth with his sons.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I wonder if Noah's family was the only family, of humans out there that were still worshiping the Lord and walking with the Lord.
Yeah.
So that's why he's found favor.
Yeah.
He was found favor by God. Which I think you're on the right track. Is that God had to intervene in order to save his family from being tainted with evil.
Yep.
So, but yeah, mainly going back to like the main topic of this is the Nephilim, or in Hebrew it's the Nephilim. That's how it's pronounced, and they were, according to the Bible, they were born from the daughters of man who were attractive and seen by the sons of God, and so the whole like sons of God, daughters of man, like where are those? Who are those people? That's a big debate right now. It's like, are the sons of God angels, or are they just like, because you and I were sons of God because we have been adopted into the family?
Yeah.
So it's like, were they just righteous men who saw this? But I don't know. Sons of God has been mentioned numerous times in like other books of the Bible where they're more pertain to angels. Like, angels are the sons of God.
Yeah.
Because like in Job, when the throne room scene in the beginning, it says that the sons of God were in the throne room with God, and also Satan was there, So I think in my perspective, I think this is talking about angels.
I agree.
And so the daughters of man, I mean, what do you think those are?
I mean, I've always thought they were actual like humans.
Well, yeah.
Where do you mean, where do they come?
Where do they come from? Like which lineage?
Which line? That is a very good question.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
There's a debate out there that they're just normal women, like not of any certain lineage. But there's also like people say that they're the daughters of Cain.
I've heard that. Yeah. I think I'm not an expert, but I think a lot of times what we try to do is when we see stuff like this one, for example, the like daughters of man, right? And then all these sons of God, these angels, these fallen angels come and they corrupt the daughters of man, right? They see it as like good or tov or, whatnot. We try to like put like a lineage on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then, I mean, did, Seth, his lineage,
right.
Abel,
that's the thing is like,
they just die out and it was only Noah, or did they get corrupted too? You know what I mean? Like,
see, that's the other thing is like, is the son or the daughters of man also, are they not Cain's lineage, but are they Seth's lineage?
Well, could it not be if
I mean, it could be both because we don't know.
Like, it could be, for sure.
Because we weren't there. So,
but if these sons of God, right, these fallen angels, right, their whole point is, of course, they followed Lucifer when he did his rebellion and whatnot,
right?
And they're after they're here to corrupt like everything good, right? They don't like anything tov, right? Of course, I could see them, if it was like a lineage thing, I could see them going and corrupting like the daughters of Cain, like on his side. But I'm just trying to make this like realistic. I don't see them just stopping there. You know what I mean? Because I mean, God flooded the earth. He didn't say like, "Oh, no, you're the only one." And I mean, there had to be some people on Seth and Abel's side that I feel like that corrupted.
Oh yeah, so
you know what I mean?
I mean, this is before the flood too.
This is before the flood.
This is before flood. This is kind of like the ticking time bomb that led to the flood.
Yeah, it was.
Like that's what the verses are saying later on about God regretting making man on the earth, and then he said, "I'm going to flood the earth and destroy all the creatures that I've created, blot out man, whom I created, and all the creeping creatures and the birds in the heavens." But Noah's family was the only humans to survive that flood.
Yes.
So his lineage lived on. So what you're saying is like,
I'm saying that his lineage comes from Seth, right?
Right.
Or
Noah.
Right? Yep. It comes from Seth. So the lineage leading all the way from Seth to Noah. Mm-hmm. I can't see that lineage just 100% staying like following God, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Right? Because these are human beings,
there was
right? What I mean?
A lot of the lineage, if you look back at chapter 5, it says that there's only one person other than Noah, actually, that walked with the Lord, and that was Enoch.
Okay.
Everybody else, it doesn't say that in their lineage or in their genealogy.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, that's my theory, is like, did these other men outwardly walk with the Lord, or did they pretend like they did, or did they? Yeah. Is that why? And that's why they like died out, because that's why they died in the end, because they chose not to follow the Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, they all lived a super long time, and that's kind of why God limits the years on man now.
Yeah.
But they lived all for like 900 years and 800 years, and which I do have an interesting theory on why that was, why they were able to live that long.
But that's like my point, though.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't the sons of God corrupt not just Cain's lineage, but the other lineage as well, right?
I mean, yeah, that's true. Because
they're all living 900 plus years, and only Noah and his family is on that, his immediate family.
Yeah, I mean,
he had to have.
It could be. I mean, yes, it could have been. The daughters of man are just daughters of any
man.
Any man.
That's what they want. They want to corrupt.
So it's interesting too, because like, yeah, the sons of God, we're gonna say are angels, right?
Yeah,
do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I agree on that.
So angels who fell from heaven.
These angels can obviously take the shape of man.
Yeah,
like we've seen that in the story of Lot, or the story of it was Lot. Yeah, it was Lot.
Gomorrah.
Yeah. We've seen it with that story, and I've always, it's just an assumption, but I always assumed that they would come in the form of man, and I mean, like you said, essentially rape these women, whether they voluntarily did it, and I can 100% see them involuntarily, like, you know what I mean? Because like, it's rape if you don't know who the person is, of course. But yeah, no, I look at their demons. They're not the good angels,
No, not at all. And see, that's interesting too, because like going back to Sodom and Gomorrah, I mean, not back. It's actually further on, right? Yeah. Is that before this?
No, that's back, because that was Abraham.
Yeah. Yep.
Good old Abraham.
Father Abraham.
Was way back.
Way back. So it's interesting to see how like corrupt the human race was before this part, because when those angels that came down to warn. Because they were just there to warn Lot and his family to leave.
Yeah.
Because Sodom and Gomorrah are going to be destroyed. And then the people of Sodom saw these angels and lusted after them. And they're like, let us come and be with these angels. And it's like, again, it shows like the pursuit of man trying to become God. Like they're trying to have divine interference, or like intervening divinely to mate with these angels. Maybe they'll become God that way. And it kind of shows like from the fall, like we've been just like gradually like falling and decreasing, and like our like thinking of how can we become God, because like the Adam and Eve, even back in the garden, it comes back with that word tov. They saw that the apple or the fruit was good, and they took a bite, and so like, because they saw that it was good and they believed the serpent, and they said that like, this will make us like God, and we surely won't die.
We won't die.
I'm like jumping around, so that's why I say bear with us.
This is off topic of Nephilim, right?
Yes.
But going off what you were just saying, I think, and this could be like maybe another podcast, I think there's definitely a trend of like even in the Bible, of course, there's a trend of humankind always trying to like pursue that status of God. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, even pharaohs in Egypt, or like the Tower of Babel, where they're trying to reach heaven and God had to separate them. You know what I mean? We're always trying to. Which I'm not saying trying to reach God is a good thing, but trying to achieve new heights is a good thing.
Well, trying to become God is
trying to be like God, I think, is admirable. But the moment you start looking at trying to like, oh, I can, maybe I can be God. Like, I mean, literally what Adam and Eve was, tempted with. It's definitely a trend of humankind. And as you saw with Sodom and Gomorrah, because I didn't even think about that before this, Sodom and Gomorrah, God destroyed that too. That's how bad it was. Now imagine, fast forward, the whole world now.
Yeah, like, he really like went 10 times more than Sodom and Gomorrah with the world.
That must have been how bad it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like he saw that it spread even like from Sodom and Gomorrah, and he's like, oh, now I got to take care of the whole world. Like the same way I did with well, not exactly the same way, of course, because he floods the earth and not strikes it down.
Doesn't,
and like a holy nuke.
A holy nuke just fall
like,
out.
I mean that's what I imagined it was like. Like it was an atomic bomb 10 times over, that erased Sodom off the face of the earth.
Gosh.
Off topic, but off top. That kind of went off the rails, but we'll come back to it. We'll come back to, I mean, kind of going off that, but coming back to like the reason why like humans were able to live so long. Going back to that point I made earlier, is because the Spirit of God was in us, and that kind of like goes back to what God was saying in chapter 6 verse 3. He says, "Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years." So it shows that like in the Garden of Eden, we were supposed to live forever with God and be with God, walk with God forever.
Yeah.
So therefore, like God's Spirit was in us and like let us live forever, because that's what it means when we, especially when we follow Christ. Like when you choose to give your life to Christ, you're surrendering your life and getting in exchange eternal life, because the Holy Spirit enters you.
Yeah.
So when God's Spirit is in you, then you'll live forever, because death is not the end. Jesus displayed that on the cross and the resurrection. Anyway,
yeah, of course.
Going back to the Garden of Eden, like when Adam and Eve were exiled out of Garden of Eden, they still had, like, I think God allowed them to still have the Spirit in them to see if like maybe it'll turn around, maybe it'll come back to me. But like then Cain and Abel, like Cain kills Abel, and that's like the first murder, first murder.
Yeah.
Throughout the lineage from Seth, so like Adam and Eve's third son, from Seth, who basically took on the mantle of Abel. Like Abel was supposed to be like that righteous lineage, but then when he was killed by Cain, that transferred on to Seth.
Yeah.
And so then Seth's lineage lived for 900 and 900 years because the Spirit of God was still in them. Now, some people like will debate that and say like, well, their time was probably different then.
I've heard
like,
it was shorter.
It was shorter. So that's why they counted up, or their calendar days were shorter. So that's how they counted it up.
Yeah.
But I like to believe it's not as a crazy thing to think that like the Spirit of God was in humans. If we can believe that Jesus resurrected from the dead, like it's not that big of a stretch.
It's not that stretch.
Like that's something I'm like always thinking about as I read the Bible. There's a lot of crazy stories in the Bible that like you think are out there and like outlandish, and you're just like, how is this in the Bible? Well, you compare it to Jesus resurrecting from the dead, as he was 100% man, 100% God.
Yeah. Like,
how is that any more of a stretch than everything else that happened?
People come back from the dead, bro. Chill out. This is crazy, man. Yeah. 800 years, man.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
But then he says, and then God says in chapter 6, because of what he saw with the sons of God mating with the daughters of man, like these fallen angels have come, they've raped these women, they've bore children to them, who were, in some sense, like, had some sense of divinity in them because they're half angel, half human.
It almost like they're like a demigod. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Like almost. If you're looking at like, what is it, Greek mythology or whatnot? Right. Yeah, right? Yeah. It's almost like they're like freaking Hercules or something.
Oh, yeah. Like, I think they're like depicted as that. It's like the Nephilim or Hercules and like
Gilgamesh, who's
Gilgamesh
associated with
they're divine beings, but they're also humans.
They have a bit of divinity to them. Yeah. I'm not saying they're demigods, but basically from reading this, they were mighty warriors. Yeah. They were like at one point I think I read somewhere where they were fighting each other actually.
Oh yeah.
With their kingdoms, right? Like it's crazy to think about. Now, I saw one that I wanted to bring up where it was discussed that basically they might not have been giants like how we see it, of course. Like Nephilim weren't specifically, they might have been taller, of course. People were shorter back then,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
above average height.
They're above average. They're average or above, Yeah. But I mean, that's obviously, in my opinion, debunked because they literally give us the height of Goliath, who's like 9'9". You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The tallest human on Earth that's ever recorded was like 100 years ago, and the dude was like, let me see, I have it here, 8'11".
Whoa.
Yeah, 8'11". Born in 1940.
Huh.
Yeah, the Guinness World Record book.
I mean, but if you look at the Bible like a history book.
And like even Goliath was like, a famous warrior. You know what I mean? Like no one wanted to challenge him, not just because he's tall, but like
he was a bad guy.
He was a bad guy. He could fight.
He was ruthless and merciless, and he yeah. So I think. I mean, do you think that Goliath was Nephilim? Like he was part of that race type of thing, or
it even says that Nephilim existed after the flood. So the sons of God still did what they did.
Yeah, I mean, demons are around Earth all the time. Like they can always continue to do what they did.
Agreed, and that goes back to the point with the lineage now, because at that point, only Noah's lineage exists. Right?
Yeah.
And I guess you do have
in a sense, yes, Noah's lineage did get kind of tainted down the road.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Noah was corrupt or his sons were corrupt, but their offspring, his son's offspring, somewhere in the factor created more.
Were used to create more Nephilim. Yeah, right. I think one of the things we definitely get trapped into is we start to like, in a way, we take away the humankind, like the humanity out of people.
Yeah.
And really, the only person you should do that with is Jesus, because he actually was perfect.
Yeah.
But just because someone's born of a certain lineage, and Christians, I'm not trying to like trip or nothing, but Christians do get into that. We're like, oh, it's from the line of this and that. You can still fall. I mean, Cain and Abel were literally from Adam, the only like lineage,
first son of God,
the
original son of God,
the original one. He was talking to God in the Garden of Eden, walking with him and lying to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The stories he could tell you,
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to hide in the bush,
we tried to hide from God.
Literally,
we can see everything and know everything.
God did not mean, God's original purpose wasn't to like split like lineages up and all this and that. Everybody was originally like going to be in the Garden of Eden.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I was like, I can believe that Son of God came down here and corrupted. They didn't care who it was. Even if you are part of a lineage that's not like believing in God and has like pagan gods or whatnot, in their eyes, you're all still the same because you're all in his image. I want to get all of y'all. You know what I mean? And you guys may have already been corrupted or tainted or whatnot. We did our work on y'all. You know what I mean? I really want to hit them now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how I see it. Do you know who the last Nephilim is reported to be? Apparently, it was in the Book of Numbers, or it was in Numbers.
Oh.
Yeah, his name was Og.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you heard of him?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
But yeah, no, with the days of Noah and the flood and whatnot, I mean, it doesn't say, but I'm sure Nephilim were. I mean, they had to be rampant during those days.
There had to be a ton of them.
There had to be a ton of them.
Like a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. As man began to multiply on the face of the earth, like I think in that context of man multiplying, it was also Nephilim multiplying on the earth at a rampant pace.
Yeah. Interesting.
And there's 1/3 of those angels that had fallen. How many angels are in heaven? We don't know.
We don't know, yeah.
But 1/3 of them came to earth and started mating with humans. So, yeah, I would say it probably was a rampant pace that these people were multiplying.
Now, why did it stop? Why did it slow down after the flood? And then why did it stop eventually?
See, I wonder if that's because, now this is just my opinion, but I think the demons saw the flood happen. They saw that God destroyed the earth because of their offspring, and they were afraid of him, that it would happen again. That they saw that their offspring are not going to survive if they do it again.
Yeah.
But then again, Satan is also, he's still trying to turn God's people away from him, even to this day.
Yeah.
So it's like he's really not getting the point that God wins in the end. He still believes that he's going to win in the end.
Yeah. Which is crazy too, but I mean, he turned against God in the first place and got to witness him in his full glory, so it doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if his followers, like his adversaries, demonic adversaries, became fearful of the Lord after that.
Interesting. So you think they got more sense than him?
Maybe.
Yeah, could be.
But then again, even nowadays, the demonic realm is around us. The spiritual realm is around us, and there's a constant spiritual warfare going on between good and bad, and humans are affected by that in the outcome. And so I think the demons kind of lost that sense after that. Like I don't know. Like that's a good question.
Why
it's like why would it slow down after the flood?
It didn't just stop at the flood; it slowed down from what we know.
Right, because there's some in numbers, like the Nephilim in numbers,
and then Og just
he
and
was
then
like
Goliath of his kind. Yeah, you had Goliath too. Like,
so I wonder if it was
stuff that we'll never know probably until we die.
Well, if anybody's listening and they have an opinion, email me. Email me at densmuffinpodcast@gmail.com and let me know your thoughts on this question. Why did it slow down after the flood of Nephilim being created?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this is a heavy topic. Like, there's a lot more to this topic than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of good theories, I guess, that we had. We also, like, came out with an outcome of, like, our discussion of, like, establishing, answering some questions we had in the beginning. And then we came back and answered those. Like,
the
daughters of man were probably not the daughters of Seth. Like, not that lineage.
I think we disagree on that.
Okay.
I think we disagree on that.
Yeah. So there is still disagreements there. Yeah. That's the point of this conversation, is that we can have disagreements and be okay with it. Josh, I appreciate you being here today and talking with me about the Nephilim and also just being part of this series. Hope to see you again after this.
Yeah, you definitely will.
Continue this episode, or continue this series. I mean,
yeah, it's a good episode. This was fun.
I think the most important lesson to learn from this episode is that this stuff doesn't affect our faith in Jesus Christ. This is just a fun creature topic that we got to talk about.
Yeah,
it's something to ponder on, something to think about, but it's not something that should waver your faith in Jesus. And I pray that if any of you are listening that haven't given your life to Christ, I pray that God, you answer the door that Jesus is knocking at. And I pray that God is using you in whatever season you're in right now to further His kingdom and to be witnesses of His grace and mercy through Jesus Christ. My name is Thaddeus, and this is the Dense Muffin. I will see you in the next episode.
Man, that's dense.